Well, it's very, very early days for this variant. I mean, the good news is they identified it really early, and they're sending up the flag so that people are aware of this. So in one sense, the WHO pointing out this is showing that at least the surveillance system is working really well. So South African researchers held a press conference about this yesterday and really explained what's concerning about this. They identified what they call the, quote, unusual constellation of mutations in this new variant, which right now is known as B.1.1.529, is potentially going to get a Greek letter name from the WHO today, which may be new and U. And what's concerning about that is that there are more than 30 mutations in the spike protein, and some of those are already known to be associated with the potential for increased transmissibility or the potential to evade our immunity from vaccines or natural immunity, or potentially to get around our antibody drugs. All of this needs to be further researched, and the WHO is saying that we will learn more about this in the coming weeks, really just seeing really how it spreads. It's very early days. If you look at the case numbers in South Africa right now, you're just seeing an uptick overall that looks very small. So it is extremely early. We need to learn more, but the level of alarm about this is higher than anything I've seen since Delta. I mean, I was hearing from a lot of folks yesterday over Thanksgiving who are worried about this.
So let's just talk about the sort of various permutations that this could take. The transmissibility issue is a big one. The danger to your own system, meaning able to evade vaccines and even your own defenses, is a big one. Having said that, and I don't know if this is going to sound fatalistic, if it was very, very dangerous to the body, in some ways that would make it less transmissible over time, right?
Well, yeah, if you find a variant that is more deadly, it doesn't spread so far. I mean, there has to be that sort of perfect balance. We don't know anything about whether this could cause more severe disease or even perhaps less severe disease. None of that is known so far just because there are so few cases out there. But what you see is that it looks like it can outcompete Delta. And that is just incredibly surprising given how transmissible Delta is. At the same time, epidemiologists are still trying to understand the underlying dynamics of where this is spreading right now, because South Africa went through a really terrible third wave with Delta, and cases had really come down. And so now they're starting to see them tick back up. So is it that it's really outcompeting Delta? Is it that it's just taking off where there's less virus circulating? All of that needs to be better understood. But you can bet that the vaccine companies are already looking at this to see if they need to update the vaccines. And we know they have systems in place to do this incredibly quickly.
But how quickly can they do it? Because that was where I was going to go with this. It appears to me, when you talk to some scientists, they say we could formulate a new vaccine in the course of 72 hours. The question is, it might take 6 months, 8 months to get it approved and in the hands of people, if not longer.
Right. Well, we don't know exactly how the regulatory systems would work for this because we haven't had to do it yet. But we do know that the mRNA technology in particular allows them to design these incredibly quickly and then to start to make them really fast. So I think Pfizer has talked about doing this within 100 days, and they've been able to do it, and I think maybe even beat their own goals for the beta variant. They didn't need to update that vaccine yet, but certainly these companies have surveillance systems of their own. They're paying attention to all of this. I've heard from some of them about this who are looking at it really closely. And so if they need to update the vaccines, they should be able to do it. And then it will probably be a matter of working with the FDA on, using antibody data to be able to clear a new strain. I mean, this is what we're talking about with the model of the flu. You don't have to run these 30,000-person trials of flu vaccines every year. You just update the strains, and they understand what antibody levels they need to hit. We don't have perfect correlates of protection in this virus yet, but it is something that is being looked at very closely by regulators and the companies.
Hey, Mick, whether this is more deadly or not, I think part of the concern here would just be, look, if this can evade the protections that we think we're so proud of, that we've done such a good job with, whether that be by people getting vaccinated or having it burned through so much of the population, we thought we were getting back to the point where this was going to be something that was endemic, something we could move with. The other part of that has been that we've seen these new antiviral pills and new treatments. What's the expectation, at least, as to how effective those new pills and those new treatments, if you do get COVID, are? Would they respond to this as well?
Yeah, I haven't seen specific research on these antivirals with this variant yet. But from the conversations we've had with folks, Albert Bourla, when he came on with us on November 5th, when they got these data on their antiviral, he was saying it should stand up against all known mutations, and it's potentially, a pan-coronavirus drug, which would work against different coronaviruses, not just different variants of this coronavirus. Molnupiravir was named after the hammer of Thor because it so strongly works against multiple different kinds of viruses. And so it's hoped these drugs would still hold up against this variant. The antibody drugs are more specific to SARS-CoV-2, and there was some research that one researcher posted on Twitter last night suggesting perhaps the Regeneron antibodies, one of them could be affected by this. The Lilly antibodies may be affected. Vir's potentially could hold up better. AstraZeneca's potentially could, just because of the way they target the spike protein. And so we'll need to see that borne out. There undoubtedly are researchers already looking at this, in addition to how well the vaccines should hold up. But public health experts are really emphasizing, particularly in South Africa right now, folks should still get vaccinated. It's still the best protection we have, and the more we can try to limit the spread, the fewer variants like this could emerge, and perhaps we can limit the spread of this one.